All right, well, I recorded the Everyman crossword earlier today, and unfortunately, my microphone failed to work yet again. So I'm watching the playback of my recording and giving a running commentary. I looked at one across, hairline fractures finally seen in window. That's not new, tip. So I recognize that I should break hairline or after hairline, which is always the toughest thing when you get started on the cryptic crosswords, is where to break it, because hairline fractures goes so well together. Anyway, the first hairline I thought of was a widow's peak. So window without the N for new, and a tip could be the peak of a mountain, and the final letter of fractures was the S that went in between. Now I'm looking at aha, somewhere to get a drink, and other than thinking aha might be some exclamation, I really didn't have any idea on this one. So I don't think I spend too long on it. Yeah, twice act the fool. I realized, well, act can be do, and if you put in do twice, you get dodo, which can be a fool. Pa, can we read novel? A big one. Well, novel can be an anagram indicator, a new version of the letters in pa, can we read, which does add up to 11 letters. And I started thinking about a 3-letter word beginning with W, thought of war. And then once I thought of that, obviously, a big novel would be War and Peace. I've never read it. Have any of you? I take my hat off to you if you have. All right, forecaster, making net gains in speech. I thought in speech was probably a homophone indicator, and net gains could be profit, P-R-O-F-I-T, which sounds like P-R-O-P-H-E-T, someone who makes forecasts. Then 5 down, I warned and I wasn't sure how to pronounce treadle. I sort of know what it is, but yeah, I couldn't. Anyway, I realized malfunctioning was probably an anagram indicator for TREADLE, and so we could get alerted. And then I went back to the acrosses. He's in the OT for Old Testament, which you would think might be wordplay, but then in biblical tower, scratching head, well, the obvious biblical tower is Babel, although I've heard Babel, Tower of Babel, and if you remove the B, the first letter, you get Abel, who is in the Old Testament. And then 7 down, small bird, illegally traded, I bet. Well, traded, I bet, has 10 letters. I paused a little bit because I thought, okay, it's going to be an anagram of those, but illegally, I'm not sure I quite get how that is an anagram indicator, but we'll go along with it. And I do remember there is a bird called a bearded tit. I think I have some trouble typing it in once I get it. Here we go. Yeah, oh, I'm still getting it wrong there. Finally, bearded tit. All right, then sadly hit by snarl, where dead ends abound. Again, noticing it's 10 letters, snarl could indicate an anagram, and sadly hit by has 10 letters, and oh, I'm just noticing now, I think I spell labyrinths wrong, because I think it should have, no, sadly hit by, yeah, I'm actually, oh no, it's sadly, excuse me, sadly is the anagram indicator, and it's hit by snarl, there we go, I was trying to remember why there weren't two Ys. All right, short trousers and red heels on, dancing. Well, I spent a bit of time reminiscing about growing up in Ireland at a time when the first few classes in the school, the youngest kids had to wear short trousers, which seems ridiculous now looking back on it, during the winter time. And so it was always a great rite of passage when you could finally wear long trousers. Anyway, I did. I also talked about my father used to say when he took a pound note out of his pocket, he would untrouser a leaf. I think he got that from a book, some slang. So then I thought, so maybe it's something to do with that. But then I thought, ooh, dancing could be an anagram indicator here. And so an anagram of red heels on. And I remembered something else from my youth, which is that my parents must have gone to Germany and picked up some lederhosen, and made us wear them for special occasions. I think we hated them. I think we felt that we really stuck out when we were wearing our lederhosen. Probably, yeah, the only little boys in Ireland wearing lederhosen. Anyway, so yeah, I was doing a lot of reminiscing during this recording. And then I looked back up here and I thought, an exclamation that you might say instead of aha is well. For example, well now. And that is definitely somewhere you would get a drink of water. Clothing to boast about. Well, to boast is to brag. And if that is turned about or reversed, you get garb. So that was a fairly straightforward one. And then this one, it's almost always off the charts. Well, I just looked at the letters I had and I thought of a one-hit wonder. And so there's no wordplay involved here. It's simply a cryptic definition. Yeah, I think I talked a little bit about why that might work as a cryptic definition. All right, so here are constituents of saliva in play area. Well, I immediately thought, because of the P something T, of a sand pit, and I was puzzling over that for a little while, and I did start to say, oh, it's S and PIT, and then of course I made the connection. If you put the S in front of pit, you get spit, which is a synonym for saliva. So I was happy enough with sandpit at that point. Once I make the connection, must be now, there we go. All right, yeah, I did think that was a clever one. Now Andres denounced, to some extent, somewhere on the Elbe. Well, to some extent, I identified as indicating a hidden clue. And starting with the D in Andre, we have Dresden hidden in there. All right, French PM losing energy in part of Benelux. I thought it was going to be the name of a French prime minister, which is timely as they're having a bit of trouble getting a prime minister in France. And then we're going to take an E for energy away from his name to get a part of Benelux. And I even said that, so Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. But I was thinking it was going to be some small region that maybe went across those countries. But yeah, I did not get that. he ignores issues over a case of suet that's fattening. Well, I thought case of suet could be the outer letters, the S and the T. And then maybe, yeah, I couldn't get he ignores issues. I was thinking, because we often see issue used to represent children, that's somebody who ignores children, or something to do with magazines and publisher, or yeah, and I thought it might end in ish for something that's fattening, but I couldn't think of anything for that. And then I also struck out with this one, what you expect with cricket, below lifeless. I thought the definition might be what you expect, and then we would have a charade of a word for cricket, maybe something to do with insects, something for below, and then something for lifeless, but nothing came to me with that. So I think I carry on with the crosses in a moment. Yep, here we go. Brother repulsed by small globes. Well, brother can be shortened to bro, and if you put that backwards, if you repulse it, you get ORB. Small can be abbreviated to S. Put them together and you get orbs for globes. Greatest parts of capitals, etc., with carbon reduction. Well, I did think it was going to be something to do with a word maybe for capitals, etc., and we're going to remove a C for carbon, but I couldn't see how that one worked. And in fact, when I finally get the answer, I still didn't understand the wordplay, but I see it now. It's funny how coming back and watching it a few hours later, now it all makes sense. Anyway, I think I give up on this one. Yeah, this one is pretty straightforward. 50-50 equals odd, no. Well, if something isn't odd, it's even. And if the betting odds are 50-50, then the chances are even. And then, speaking of even so, sentences that depict fruit, etc. I thought it might at first be a two-word phrase for even so, but then I was thinking about depict fruit, etc., and it occurred to me a painting like that would be a still life. And so even so would mean still, and a sentence could be a life sentence, so sentences could be lives. I did wonder a bit if the plural of still life was still lifes, but fairly confident that it is. All right, we go back to the downs. Clear at the outset. Every man's on rugby pitch, unwell and too old. Well, this is one again where I look at the letters I have, and a phrase for too old immediately came to mind, over the hill. And so clear, I realized, was overt. Now this next part, and then ill at the end is for unwell. And I really puzzled over the HEH. The explanation I finally came to, and I don't think I've seen this before in the cryptic, but I presume it's been used before, is that each H looks like a rugby goal with the two uprights and the crossbar, and the outset of every man is the letter E, and since the E is stuck between two H's, it is metaphorically on a rugby pitch. So please let me know if I'm interpreting that correctly. I mean, if you're not familiar with the game of rugby and what the goals look like, and even if you are, I think that is a very tricky one to get. The only thing is, I think the answer itself is easy enough to get from the crossing letters, but I can imagine a lot of people who put that in won't have understood it, and I'm not confident that I have understood it at all. All right, let's see how long I carry on with this before I give up and just accept that it must be right. Yeah, I'm still puzzling over it. I don't know if I've made the connection yet with the H and the goals. I think now I finally did. So it's funny to watch it back. And I'm doing my best to remember what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going wrong with my microphone. It's just USB. I plug it into my tablet. It shows that it's registered, but then sometimes it doesn't record. I'm on an Android tablet. If anyone has any ideas, please let me know. All right, we move on to Bob Marley song, I Shot the Sheriff's intro, live, remastered. I did quickly twig that it was probably another Bob Marley song, and that remastered indicated we were going to have to anagram. And I saw probably going to be I Shot Thee, plus the intro of Sheriff was an S. And then, yeah, I think then live as well. So I pause at this point, I think, to try and remember Bob Marley songs, Three Little Birds, One Love. And then I did, at the back of my mind, I thought of Is This Love? I think I was confusing it with What Is Love, which is a very different song. So I do pause at some point. Let's see where I pause. Yeah, I think I've paused and come back. And surely I'm going to put in, Is This Love? Let me just work out myself. It's 10 letters, so I shot the. Oh, yes, I'm not exactly sure what the letter. Oh, in fact, I tell a lie. I didn't get it immediately. I think I had to come back. So I'm looking at in line. I nearly ran, being obstinate. I thought ran might be an anagram indicator, and the definition would be being obstinate. But yeah, I don't get this one. So after a while, I move on. Yeah, I did think it was probably going to be a BLE ending. I think I thought maybe unbendable might be obstinate. I'm close. It is something to do with bending or not bending, just a different word. All right, diminish, empty, desolate, expanse. I thought empty was probably meaning we're going to empty out one of the words beside it and just leave the outer letters. Well, it can't be diminish because that would leave DH. So then it would be desolate would become DE. And I thought maybe there's a 5-letter expanse we put after that to get diminish. And don't ask me how, but fortunately I did think of a tract of land, could be an expanse. I don't know if there's another sense in which tract is expanse. And then if you diminish something, you detract from it. Yeah, and I think I say at this point that I'm not very confident about either of those synonyms, detract for diminish, tract for expanse, but I go on. Characters from Tinseltown go along to see players' worst fear. I think I did think this might be a hidden clue. Characters from, and sure enough, hidden with Tinseltown go along is a known goal. I scored a few of those in my playing days, so it is a player's worst fear. All right, and now here's the Everyman trademark clue with the primarily telling us to take the first letters from the first four words, and we get Edith Piaf. Okay, and then river goddess, I thought must be a double definition, the name of a river that's also a goddess. And I did remember, although I can't remember now if it's Cambridge or Oxford, there is the river Isis, who is an Egyptian goddess. So it gives us very strange letters for 24 across. I don't think I get it at this point. I think I have to come back to it. So I look around, I've noticed I've done well on the top half, but I try then he ignores issues. And I think I do realize that it could be an ostrich with his head in the sand, because I think I do think, oh, case of suet must be OST at the beginning, and then there aren't too many words that begin with OST. And so an over is from cricket, the letter O. Case of suet is S and T. And food that's fattening might be described as rich. Yeah, I think I'm just double checking that. I think the over confused me at first. I thought it was going to be one word going around another. So I think I look at this and I think I do. Do I get it? It's a phrase that means lifeless. I think I should have realized the last word, 5 letters meaning below, could be under, but I don't think I get that immediately. Yeah, I think I'm still struggling with this one. I think I'm going to go back to Bob Marley, maybe? Yeah. So I think this is the point where I pause and finally remember, is this love? I was going to look up his Wikipedia page, but fortunately I remembered it before I had to resort to that. And so how is the wordplay? Yeah, I think it's I shot plus S and an anagram of live. I'm not sure where the comes into it. Yeah, so I think I still puzzle about that one for a little bit. I think I look over now at the French PM beginning with H, and I remember him. Yeah, it looks like I'm still wrapped around the axle on Is This Love? Here we go. So I do remember Francois Hollande, and if he loses the E, it becomes Holland, another name for the Netherlands. So now I think I look at this and think, oh, if you're lifeless, you might be 6 feet under. And a cricket is an insect, I think a six-legged instrument. Insect, I don't know why I said instrument. And therefore you might expect 6 feet, and then below is under, and if you are 6 feet under, you are lifeless. All right, well, surely I'll get 14 down now. So obstinate could be inflexible. In is simply in. Line is like wire, I think, and could be flex. And then I think I ran. Oh, I is I think. And then if blood ran, for example, it bled, but it's nearly that word, so we drop the D. I think that's how we should read this one. Inflex, I bled minus D. I'm sure I take a moment to get to grips with this one. Still thinking about it. All right, ready to move on to the last one. I think at some point I do realize that the greatest parts, for example, of the electorate might be majorities. And I see now that capital cities are usually major cities, but if you take out the C for carbon, you have major ities. All right, so I think I take a little bit of time trying to work out why that is right, and I'm not able to do that. Anyway, that was the Everyman crossword this week. Took me a little bit longer than I like, but at least it wasn't as bad as the Quiptic. My Quiptic video will be coming out tomorrow. That was a bear. Anyway, thank you as always for watching, and have a great day.